Hey there, everybody. We are back with the Equalizer, finally, season 4, episode 1, Truth for a Truth. And I tell you, they've been going for at least 8, 9 months, it seems. I could be off by some, but I am so glad to have Robin and Mel and Harry and Marcus back. You know, Aunt Vi and Delilah as well. So now, if you remember, it ended with Michelle having a gun at Robin while Robin has to watch Mel, Harry, and Dante, or Marcus, I'm going to call him Dante, be burned alive. They're tied, handcuffed to a chair, fires all around them. And, Michelle is so busy stuck on revenge, whereas Robin thought she had died and didn't realize it, right? So, before I get into this week's episode, let me read the synopsis. McCall races to save the team after they're put into extreme danger by a former CIA colleague. And that colleague was Michelle. And she, like I said, she feels that Robin left her stranded to die. But Robin didn't have a choice. She was told to move, to go, that they were already gone. So they have to follow orders. So as she's holding the gun to her and Robin's begging her to let him go, and they wanted to have a fight. All of a sudden, there was an intruder, some kind of alarm. And she's like, you did this to Robin. You did this. She see all of these men. It was like a dozen of them coming in. And so she ran, told the other guy, there was 3 of them in there. She told one of them to stay and make sure Robin watches her team die. And she and the other guy left. But he came up on Robin with his gun, and that was a bad move because she unarmed him, beat him to the ground, ran looking through the building trying to find where they were. And she got shot at by somebody else. She got him down, and she found the door where they were screaming and yelling and being held. And then the guy had what are those, like a grenade on him, and she pulled out the pin and stuck it in the door, and it went boom, and the door broke open, and she untied them, or whatever it is, uncuffed them. They all got out before the whole place blew up. Boom. And they all fell to the floor. And then when they were getting up, here it is, the guy who Michelle saw, his name was Briggs, and he came to save them basically with his team. He knows Robin from a PSYOPs operation they did in Europe. So that was cool. And so they found Fisk. He had been tortured, and they had stuck him with that needle. Remember that serum that stops your heart from beating? So Dante said, y'all going to need a defibrillator because that's what they use to bring my heart back and stuff. So that's what they took him out. And so now Robin and Mel are realizing they got to catch up with Vargas and Michelle before they do anything stupid because they don't know what Fisk has told them. Meanwhile, back at the house, Aunt Vi and Delilah getting home from being in that store. Remember the guy was sticking up the store, and Delilah had to do a little move and knock him down, and the cops came and all that stuff. So they're getting home and they're calling Robin, and they're realizing something is wrong because Delilah went and checked the garage and said, Mom left the hood up on the car and the tools are still out, and that's not like her to do that. She said she was going to the store to get something, some parts or something. I don't think she's been back. And so Aunt Vi calls Robin's phone. It goes to voicemail. Then Delilah calls Mel and Harry. It goes to voicemail. And Delilah's like, Auntie, I'm having a bad feeling, like something's wrong. And Aunt Vi's like, no, there's got to be a good, explanation for this. But they don't know. They're concerned. Back to Robin and them. So they leaving out of the place, and Robin got the gun drawn, and they stepping out of the building. Next thing you know, they're surrounded by people, and come to find out they were CIA people, basically. And they took them in. But before they took them in, when they said, hands up, Dante was like, I got to really stop hanging out with y'all. He said, it's like, it's one thing after another with them. So they're questioning them in I guess the CIA headquarters, asking them, did they try to recruit you? Did they try to do this? And they're asking all these questions. And Dante was like, well, you're going to keep asking the same question, you're going to get the same answer, And Harry was like, oh, if you mean recruit by, did they try to burn me up to death? Yeah, they tried to recruit me. So it was funny to me because some of the answers they were giving was crazy. So now Robin is sitting outside Director Green's office. I guess she's in charge of the CIA. And this man come out, and she called him Mr. Secretary or whatever. So he said, we have nothing to worry about. She's like, no. He leaves, but he's looking at Robin. Robin goes in there and tells Director Green to let her team go. They don't know anything. And she said, we will eventually, and Robin's like getting on a case about all of this, whatever's going on, this 3-4 teams of, and she's telling her Michelle is alive. The lady keeps trying to get Robin to believe Michelle is dead when she knows better. And then she said that these people, these Venezuelan, whatever they call freedom fighters, are trying to get at everybody who was out there back then, and that they're gonna attack their families. And she's like, you had held me here overnight, and now you're saying that I was one of those operatives. So she's calling Briggs again, asking him to watch her family, meaning Aunt Vi and Dee. And Aunt Vi is like, young man, who is this? You got to tell me what's going on, And he said, ma'am, I'm sorry, but your niece assured me that Robin would be here soon. And then Robin came in the door hugging them and stuff. And she told them a little bit of what's going on. She said, but whatever Briggs tells you or do, please do it. And Delilah's telling her mother, look, Ma, don't worry about us, stay focused and do what you have to do, And she said, you sure? She said, yeah. And so she goes to the bar where Mel and Harry and Dante just walked in there. And Dante's like, oh, so y'all own this place? I used to drink here all the time. And they said, I know, we know, And she told him what his drink was. And she told him, but right now you're going to have to get this for free. Basically he was a high-end type drinker. You know what I mean? So anyway, Robin comes in. She updates them on what she knows. And they're like, well, let's go downstairs and take care of it. And Dante's like downstairs, and they all look at each other. And then Robin said, well, he's part of the team now. And he took him downstairs, and Dante was like a kid in a candy shop smiling, looking at it. So this is where it all happens. This is how y'all get the job done, the magic, whatever, and, he was watching Harry do his thing, and they're working things out, and he's helping, putting in his 2 cents as well. And he asked about that store that they went to where he got stabbed with the needle. They had freedom fighters camped out there. And Mel is like, and if they were sympathizers, they might know where Michelle and Vargas are. So Robin asked Mel and Dante to go check that place out. Meanwhile, Harry and Robin are still in there working, and they're realizing because Fisk was on his computer before they all got trapped, sitting in the seat doing stuff, that he had access to some information that he otherwise wouldn't have had access to, because he has his computer program that it picks up the last few keystrokes, so they know what Fix did when he last was in there. So another little funny thing for me was while Dante was down there, he said, if y'all have a laptop, I could get into the NYPD records, to help them to find who owns that store. And Harry said, dude's here 5 minutes already. He's after my job. I said, oh God. It was just all these little funny things were happening, which a lot of people might miss, but I thought they were cute. So Dante and Mel left. And while they was driving, Mel said, you sure had a lot to say about Robin when you were on that truth serum. And Dante wasn't saying anything. He was like off on another planet, like, just his mind was going somewhere. And she was like, are you okay? And he was concerned about his job. Remember, he had to give up his badge and his weapon, because that Bolo or Lolo guy said that Dante pushed him off the roof when he didn't. And Mel is like, I guess there was no cameras. He said, nope, no cameras were on the roof. And she gave him a nice little speech saying, you know what, as long as you know you did the right thing and you didn't do it, that's all that counts. She said, you're a great detective, and you should just keep thinking positive or something like that. And he told her, I appreciate that. Meanwhile, Robin goes to visit somebody named Mr. Lee because his son was part of their crew or operative or whatever. And when she saw the watch on his arm, she realized that Michelle must have brought it to him. So she said, you could come out now, Michelle. And Michelle's like, how'd you know? And she said, I saw the watch on Mr. Lee's arm. So they was like, can we talk? And Robin was trying to talk to her. And then somebody started shooting at them. And Robin shooting back. And they're shooting back and forth. And when the gunfire stops, she turns around, Michelle is gone. Now, the guy that Mel and Dante went to see, when they told him they just wanted to ask some questions, he decided to run and got caught by them. And so they asked him some questions about the freedom fighters and where they were, but he didn't say. Meanwhile, Robin went back to visit Director Green, asking her, why did she do that, trying to have Michelle killed? She's one of us and stuff. And the director didn't want to hear what Robin had to say, and she basically told her if she kept it up, she would hold her for treason or something like that. So Robin was upset, and she put the bullets down on Director Green's desk, and Director Green picked them up and told her she keep it up. One of these bullets might have her name on it. But she said that group that Michelle is a part of now is dangerous, and that's why they have to do what they're going to do. Meanwhile, we find out from that guy that Dante and Mel went to see that they don't kill families. That they don't know where they got that from. So what they're realizing is that Director Green is making that up to make herself feel good about what she's about to do to them. Them meaning those freedom fighters and Michelle. And we also learned that Bishop Security has teams watching all of those families who were operatives back then so that nobody gets hurt or harmed in any way. We have a scene with Robin going to see Fisk in the hospital, trying to get information out of him. The nurse is saying he needs to rest. He's very weak. And she's trying to talk to him, and he's trying to give her information, and then he goes into cardiac arrest, and it looks like he's about to die. So they made Robin leave the room. Now we have Delilah and Aunt Vi in the kitchen. Aunt Vi, them making sandwiches and lunch for all of the guys who's working in there, you know, and they're thanking her for it. And Delilah starts asking Briggs questions about the gun he's carrying, what made him get started. Then he told how he met her mom and things like that. And you could see Aunt Vi's face is looking like, oh God, please don't let her be doing the same thing that Robin's doing. You see there's a problem on her face. And then Aunt Vi said something like, oh, Delilah, leave Mr. Briggs alone. I'm sure he has more important things to do. Stop badgering him. But she wasn't badgering him. Aunt Vi it was getting in her head, and she didn't like what she was hearing. So she asked her, when Briggs noticed something was up, he left, and Aunt Vi said, Delilah, I didn't know you were interested in military school or following in your mother's footsteps. She said, I didn't either. She said, but I got a lot of things to think about before I get to that. That would be one of my last resorts. But she found everything being interesting. So later on, when Delilah and Aunt Vi start talking, what we find out is Aunt Vi found a purpose in her life. Remember, we heard her story in one of those past episodes. We heard her story, how she felt she didn't belong. I think she told the story to the man in the store when he was holding up the place, and how she found purpose once Robin needed her to help her with Dee. So now she's feeling like she's going to have to start all over again, trying to find her purpose. And Delilah reminded her that I will always be a phone call away, a flight away, a Zoom away. And she's like, I realize it, but, you know, she's still feeling sad because she feels like both of them will be gone. She said, you'll always be my auntie. I'll always be here. But she said, honestly, you won't always be here. So now Harry and Mel find out some information about Secretary of State Donald Leland. Come to find out he has some kind of multi-million-dollar properties in Venezuela. And that's why we saw him in there with Director Green from the CIA. So they're doing some kind of messed up stuff, and that's why these countries hate Americans, because whatever is doing, they're getting their people killed or something like that. So now Robin's racing to go find this guy. He's at some kind of conference right now because she feels if Michelle gets to him first and kills him, there's no coming back, because the rest of her team, the other freedom fighters, have been caught now and they have been put in jail. So Robin catches up with Secretary Leland, and of course he doesn't believe what she's saying, but he does remember seeing her in the CIA office, and she's letting him know that he got bad intel, that there's one operative still out there, and he's like, one, haha. And she said, let me tell you, she's a CIA trained assassin. You are in danger. And he's like, I have a conference to go to. So he gets in the car with his people, and Mel and Robin are talking, and she's like, if we stay close to him, then we could get, we'll catch up with Michelle. And she said, how are we going to do that? And they went over there and opened the door, snatched the driver out, snatched the other guy out from the back seat, fisticuffed them or whatever with their cuffs, and left them on the ground. And they jumped in the van and took Leland wherever. And he's like, what are y'all doing? What are you doing? I said, Robin and Mel are crazy. So he decides he gonna get on his cell phone and call somebody. Robin snatched that from him and threw it out the window, out the car. He's like, you're crazy. How dangerous could one person be? She said, dangerous enough that you and I hopefully will both make it out alive. So he's saying, I read the intelligence briefing and she's dead. And Robin said, I know what it says. I wrote it. She said, but she is alive. I'm telling you. He said, repeating it over and over is not going to change anything. Why do you care so much about this monster? And she said, if she's a monster, it's because you made her that way. And she says, as much as I despise you, I don't feel that you should die either. And she did add that Michelle Chambers is a better person than you'll ever be. I said, oops. No, she didn't. Yes, she did. So while they're driving, Harry lets them know that they got two black sedans coming up along the back of them, along the side. And so they're trying to speed up driving. And Mel is like, I don't know this area. You know, any suggestions? And Dante is there with Harry. And he said, I got you. And he started telling her which way to turn. You see the bridge? There's a turn coming up. Do this, do that. You know, he's telling them what to do. So when it came to that spot to turn, she hurried up and turned, and she was able to get away from those two cars. They ended up crashing into other cars coming in that direction. And when they got away and was driving, all of a sudden, somebody shot a hole in their tire or something like that. And it was Michelle. Now, I don't understand how Michelle was able to know they were going to come that way. So that's the only thing that got me like, how the heck did she know they would end up that way? Because Dante directed her that way. She wouldn't have even gone that way if you ask me. And so when the tire got hit like that and they was driving at a fast speed, the van flipped over 3 times. So Robin was the first one out, and she was trying to talk to Michelle and talk her out of doing what she wanted to do, which is kill Secretary of State Leland. But Michelle wasn't changing her mind, and Robin said, then you're going to have to kill 2 people today. She said, well, that's unfortunate. So she pulled out those little blades that they had, these blades that they used, that Robin told a story how they had to fight their way out of something. That's how Michelle saved her, and that's why Michelle was like a sister to her and saved her life. She'd be dead if it wasn't for Michelle, because Michelle came back for her, and she said, I will not leave Michelle hanging. That's why Robin is fighting so hard to save Michelle and get Michelle to turn back to who she used to be. But Michelle seems to be really far gone, if you ask me. So she pulled out those blades. She gave Robin one. And she said, this way, when I kill you, you could die with honor. So she said, I'm going to give you a moment to say your piece. Robin said, peace. And they started fighting. They started fighting with the swords and stuff. And Michelle got Robin, cut her across the stomach or something like that. And Robin looked at her and said, oh, you really trying to kill me? Then Robin went off. You know, they fighting and stuff with the swords, and Robin stuck her in like the shoulder blade somewhere in the arm, and then bust upside the head with the handle and knocked her to the ground. I said, oh shoot, that was funny. So Robin dropped the sword and walked away holding her stomach because she got cut across it. And then Mel and Leland crawl out of the van, which is upside down at this point. Then the next thing you know, 4 vans, trucks, whatever you want to call them, pulls up. CIA Director Green gets out of one of them. Fisk get out of the other one. He goes, mall cop. I forgot he used to call her that. And she's like, Fisk? And he's like, come on, let's get you fixed up. But I remember something earlier in the show, whereas Robin said Director Green would listen to Fisk, but Fisk was in the hospital, so she knew that she wasn't going to listen to anybody other than him, and that he could probably persuade her to do the right thing. And it seems like he was able to do that. So now back at home, while Delilah and Aunt Vi are talking about things will be changing, and Delilah's like, you'll always be my auntie, and she's like, you'll always be my baby. I love you. I love you. They get a phone call while they're hugging, and I guess it's Mel or somebody saying that Robin is in the hospital. So they go to check on her and see how she's doing, and she's saying that she's fine. She promises to get rest. This is the best vacation she's had in a while. She gets to watch TV and nap. And then Mel and Harry come in there with the hospital food. And she said, there is one drawback about that hospital food. So Aunt Vi said, when you get better, I will make you a welcome home meal you'll never forget. And I know Robin said, I'm looking forward to that. So they all start hugging because they haven't seen each other in a while. Then Vi and Delilah leave. And Mel, Harry, and Robin start updating each other on what happened, but not before Mel points out the obvious, this big, beautiful bouquet of roses and daisies and all kind of flowers. And it says, to Robin from Marcus. And she said, oh, from Marcus. Anyhow, Then they asked her, had she heard from Fisk? And she said he came by earlier to check on her. And he found out that Leland is done. He's finished. The freedom fighters are being sent back. And Mel said, what about Michelle? And she said, well, they're taking care of her. She'll be debriefed and hopefully rehabilitated. And Fisk is taking her in himself. And then we have this wonderful scene with Detective Dante coming into his captain's office and finding the district attorney there. And he said, I wasn't expecting you to be here. She said, I felt I should be here for this. So he starts off defending himself and saying this and saying that. And they're like, are you done? And he was like, you tell me, Captain. And district attorney says, you have been fully cleared of all wrongdoings, detective. And he's like, I don't understand. And she said, we recently received a video that corroborates your account of what happened in the Lofton case. And he's like, I don't understand. There was no cameras on the roof. They said, yeah, but there was cameras on a weather station rooftop that was further away. And the footage wound up in my email from an anonymous source, accompanied by the following line: sometimes the good guys do win. So he knew it was Harry and Mel. Oh my goodness, because Harry had just said that in the hospital with Robin. So the captain said, you wouldn't know anything about who sent that, would you, detective? And he said, no, ma'am. And the DA said, I could hazard a guess. And she started smiling because she know Robin and them had saved her butt once or twice. So she got up, shook Dante's hand. Captain gave him his badge back and said, welcome back, Detective Dante. And I thought that was I liked the way this ended, I'll tell you that much. But as Dante left out of the captain's office, his phone pings and there's a text message saying, our loss is NYPD's gain. And Dante texts back, you're not getting rid of me that easily. And I said, that's because he is now part of the team. All right now. And then it ended with that van with Fisk, Michelle, a driver, and two, I guess, security guys in the back with like these MP5 guns or M16s, whatever they are. And Fisk is telling her he's sorry about what happened to Ed. I really am. And then one of the guards look at Michelle and say, what the hell are you smiling at? And she's smart. She looks down and she's shaking the handcuffs. They had cuffs on her and she got them off easily while they're sitting right there. And all of a sudden you hear grunting and stuff and you hear Fisk going, no, no, Michelle, don't. And it went off just like that. So I thought it was a great episode. I don't know about the rest of y'all. Put it down in the comment section what y'all thought about it. But like I said, I thought it was great. I've never been disappointed by an Equalizer show. So for those of you who haven't subscribed yet, please do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. This is your girl, Barbie J, saying, see you in the next video. Peace.